As political alignments and realignments take center stage ahead of the 2027 general elections, there have been strategic discussions on the position of the Igbo in Nigeria's political arrangement. Precisely speaking, former civilian governor of Old Anambra State, Chief Jim Wobodo, hosted a closed-door meeting of Southeast leaders over the weekend. The closed-door meeting, described as consultative, focused on the need for the Southeast to clearly define its interests and play a more central role in national politics. The need for a clearly defined Southeast political agenda is an age-long conversation, especially after the conclusion of the Nigerian Civil War. But what's different this time? Welcome to Political Paradigm. I am Bukola Koka, standing in for your regular anchor, Terry Kumi. Now let's unpack what the Southeast political agenda would look like, particularly ahead of the 2027 general elections. And joining me on the first segment of the program is the National Chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Chief Sly Ezeokenwa. He joins us virtually from Anambra State. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Oh, what a relief.
I don't know if you can hear me quite well. I've been having some challenges with my network here, but I think I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear, and indeed it's a relief to hear you.
Hello, good afternoon, Bukola.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ezeokenwa. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Chief?
Thank you very much.
All right, indeed. I got that feedback.
Join you on this program.
Okay, I got that feedback.
Yes, I can hear you very well. I can hear you loud and clear.
Brilliant. Okay. So one of the reasons that meeting cannot be ignored is that it was called by the governor of Old Anambra State, politically non-aligned. The last time he held political office, I believe, was in 2011 when he served as a legislator. And he said some things at that meeting. Quote, that's Chief Jim Wobodo. Now, we don't want anyone to deceive us. We don't want to pretend that everything is okay. We do not want photographic information. We want to know what the people have for the Igbos. And according to him, that meeting is to continue with an outcome that would be an articulation of the Southeast political agenda ahead of 2027. How long has this been coming, and what do you make of this new move to rally to articulate a Southeast political agenda?
Well, for me, and as a political leader, and of course the national chairman of All Progressive Grand Alliance, I would say that conversations like the one have been initiated by no less than Jim Wobodo is for me a welcome development because in conversations that you will definitely have. One of the problems, there's this saying that if you don't know Southeast, if I may use that word, has been in political isolation in the affairs of Nigeria. And at times, some persons have argued that such isolation has over time been self-inflicted in the sense that the Southeast have, not played what some affairs of Nigeria, and then at the end of the day, they end up getting shortchanged. And so conversations like these are welcomed. Welcomed in the sense that it provides a
Oh dear, it appears as if we're having challenges with the network that certainly cannot be ignored. We'll take a moment now. We'll take a moment now and perhaps take a listen to the soundbite from that consultative and strategic discussions that took place at the residence of former governor of Old Anambra State, Chief Nwobodo. And while we do that, we'll try to fix the network so that we can have a seamless conversation, and then we'll be back.
Good position in the scheme of things in Nigeria. Want to be able to know where the Igbos stand. We don't want anybody to deceive us. We don't want to pretend that everything is okay. We don't want any photographic information. We want to know what the people have for Igbos, and we will get it this time. I work with him, I'm working with him, and I'm sure that with three of us, others will join us later on. Others will join us. But we definitely will have a position for the Igbos. But let the former governors and the present governors of the Igbos meet and take a decision for themselves. Let us take a decision so that people can meet, decide anything, but let the former governors and the present governors of the Igbo stock meet and take a decision. Peter Mba is a very strategic person. He doesn't talk much, but he acts. And I call him my son, and he is. So before he moves for anything, he discusses. And so, don't make a mistake. And I have worked closely with the Origins of Kalo. And I know what he is, what stock is made of. And once he stands for something, it must be truthful and very important for us.
Of course, it was a meeting held behind closed doors, but that was what was made public to pressmen who were present after the emergence of the governors, the legislator, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, the governor of Enugu State, and of course the elder statesman himself. And you saw there the former governor of Abia State, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, and Governor Mba getting an endorsement about their own political disposition from Chief Jim Nwobodo. Of course, there'll be more to come on this, what has been described as strategic discussions. So let's get an insight into what this may be and how it will take shape in the coming days. Chief Sly Eze Okenwa, APGA National Chairman, is back with us now. I'm very optimistic that the network will be more clement this time around. Chief, go ahead and wrap up your thoughts on what may be the background to this.
Yes. I don't know if you can hear me now.
Loud and clear.
Yes. So the point I was making is the fact that conversations like this are welcomed. And I think I'll actually summarize or try to highlight my opinion or my point with an Igbo adage that says that an elder, does not stay at home while a goat delivers in feathers. And so when you have an elder statesman like Chief Jim Nwobodo sounding the clarion call to other Igbo leaders to come together and articulate a possible or a probable Igbo position, I think it's a welcome development. And in highlighting this point, I think it would be quite good for us to go back a bit memory lane. Sometime in 2019, in fact, starting from 2015, or if you even take it further down to 2011, the Igbos came together and adopted President Jonathan. And some persons asked a very vital question. In adopting President Jonathan, what is in it for Igbos as a region? The same question recalled again in 2015, because it seemed as if it was a blanket endorsement without any strategic engagement on what the Igbos or the Southeasterners, if I may use that word, stands to gain from such strategic endorsement. And because that conversation was not held, it then looked as if it was some elite, if I may use that word, it was some elite that were trying to negotiate certain personal positions for themselves at the expense of the Southeast region. And so listening to Chief Jim Nwobodo, I think it is more or less trying as much as possible to avoid a repeat of history, in the sense that for us as a people, and I firmly believe that we must one day have that conversation. And that conversation will be centered around what holds economically or socio-economically for the entire Southeast region. Today, we have key positions in government. Of the 6 major positions that we have today, we're talking about the number 1 man, the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, number 5, and number 6. The only person that is a Southeasterner is the Deputy Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives. The Deputy Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives. So the question is, if we are going to participate in the 2027 election as a region, then I think it is necessary that we come together, articulate our position, make our demands known. And one of those that is opposed to any blanket endorsement of any candidate. Blanket endorsement in the sense that it is better for us as a region to come out and invite who and whoever may emerge as a presidential candidate on any of the numerous platforms that we have in the country. And then we'll come together and ask such a candidate what is going to be possible or what will be allocated to the Southeast if peradventure such a person is elected in office. So the essence is you don't shut out any candidate like the Igbos have been doing in the past. So for me, it's a welcome development that this issue is coming up. Of course, today we have the Southeast Development Commission headed by our own brother, Mr. Mark Okoye. It's one of the avenues that the present dispensation of the present government or administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is trying to address the issue of Southeast marginalization, which is a welcome. Like I said, the point I'm making is that conversations like this are welcome. But however, it will be with a caveat. The caveat is that for us to have such conversation, we must make sure that every strata of the society or the Southeast is actually engaged or covered. Talking about not just the stakeholders or the elites, we must have people from even the Manufacturers Association, the youth group or coalition, the women group or women coalition, and every strata of the society. We must come together and possibly articulate what will be the Southeast agenda ahead of 2027 elections.
Chief Sly, your arguments certainly cannot be ignored. But before we begin to look at the caveat and how that caveat can, form a consensus, let's look at the Igbo themselves, or if you like, the Igboman. We've seen only in recent times what seems to be a seeming agreement in terms of political coloration in the Southeast. In the past, there were across the Southeast states different political parties, but we now have 2 APC states. We have Labour Party, we have APGA in the Southeast. So is this a reflection? In fact, in the past, we've had a political party, PPN, defeat a ruling party. That was in Imo State, Governor Ikedio Hakim defeat a ruling party. So the question is this a reflection of what is often described as the Republican nature of the Igboman, such that there's that sense of rulership, to dominate their own space individually, and that's why it's difficult to arrive at a consensus, in this case, a uniform political coloration?
I think you're not actually far from the truth. First, it is a known, or what I might call an aphorism, that the Igbo man is by nature highly Republican, in the sense that an Igbo man has this sense of independent-mindedness when it comes to making certain choices. But then you must juxtapose the Republican or this, the independent-mindedness of the Igbo man together with the Igbo man's quest to one day probably govern, of course, Nigeria. Because you must juxtapose this. Why you say you are independent-minded, You must equally understand that Nigeria as a country is made up of diverse ethnic groups. And of course, it's impossible that an Igbo man or the Igbo people alone will actually elect a president. It's actually practically impossible looking at the way Nigeria is composed. And so you need some sort of handshake across the Niger. You need some sort of alliance. You need some sort of coalition. And so why we are highlighting the fact that the Igbo man is highly Republican in nature, independent-minded, self-assertive. Still, when it comes to playing the broader politics of Nigeria, you must somehow balance the Republican nature of the Igbo man with the Igbo man's quest of probably governing the affairs of this country one day. And so, at the for me, you know, it's more or less a hybrid of a situation that you don't assert at the presidency. Because the three states, that of all three states in the ruling party, all of them were not acquired by the ruling party through the ballot. Those governors were at some point in time elected on the platform of another political party.
So the question now is, how do we, or do you now, arrive at a consensus?
When Governor Rochas Okorocha was...
pardon me, if I may come in there. On the strength of your point, how do you then arrive, how do you surmount that undeniable nature, Republican nature, and arrive at the caveat or the consensus that is required to enable the negotiation that will get the Igbo the national visibility that they require in the politics of the center? When you have APGA, a different political party, APGA, a different political party, and then you have 3 APC states.
Now, I'm going to draw an analogy. How do you arrive at this? It's very simple. While I am not actually denying the fact that this is very, very difficult, but it is very, very patient, such as the one that has just been initiated by Chief Jim Obodo. It requires such conversation. It requires some, because you must, for you to be able to have such conversation and have probably some sort of consensus or some sort of possible or probable agreement, you must be very frank. I've said this repeatedly. The Igbo man must ask himself the question, what do you want? Do you want a shot at the presidency? Or do you just want Nigeria, of course, do your businesses, of course, the Igbo man, you know, survive in a country like Nigeria, of course, go about your normal businesses without actually deciding or pushing one day to get the shot at the presidency? It's a different thing. But the moment you say that, oh, we have 3 major ethnic groups, of feel that the northern, you must, as a matter of compulsion, come together at some point to answer some hardcore questions. And in answering those hardcore questions, these questions must be answered devoid of emotions. Because the moment playing politics with emotion way. So if conversations like today, by the grace of God, we have as a major block that articulates the aims or objectives or agenda of the Igbo man. So such platform can be a veritable platform for that conversation or that question or that question to be answered. Then another possibility
as we wind
about
down,
our parties.
As we wind down now, Chief, I hope the network will help us get this last bit which is just as important as where we started off from. You hinted at what would be a shot at the presidency, which is an age-long agitation for the Igbo. In 2023, perhaps the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, was as much a symbol and an opportunity for the Igbo to occupy the top seat in the country. While he nearly made a clean sweep of the Southeast states, but the same could not have been said about the measure of support that some thought he ought to have got from leaders of the Southeast themselves who played different politics in 2023. Do you see that repeating itself in 2027? If indeed the Igbo want to have a shot at the presidency, don't you consider him wanting to contest again as an opportunity for the Igbo to actualize that age-long dream? Chief?
Now, this is the problem. Of course, you have equally answered the question that you just asked. And what is the answer to the question? The answer is first, you just mentioned, or you just made allusion to the fact that part of the fact that there was no deep conversation around that presidency in 2023. Because if you had a deep conversation, then you could have been purpose if we had other people or other, of course, members of the other ethnic groups cashing on such quest that the Igboman can elect an Igbo person.
A very big challenge with getting to hear your thoughts, and they're very
as the president
critical
of Nigeria. It requires some sort of alliance. It requires some sort of partnership. It requires some sort of I don't know if you can still hear me.
Perhaps you take 60 seconds to try again for you to land on your thought, and then we can close.
So now, I don't know if you can hear me loud and clear.
Go on.
My network is actually very bad. Now, like I said earlier on,
we've given it our best shot, and I believe we're able to make the best of the time that we had for this particular one. And of course, as much as possible, it's been an engaging one. We must thank you very much and anchor at this point. We've been talking with the national chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Chief Sly, Eze-Okemwa, who has joined us virtually on this segment. We'll take a moment now. When we return, there's more on how best the Southeast should be articulating its political agenda ahead of 2027.